The SANONS are super delighted to offer a Bible-based answer to each question in this article. How to win the fight against wrong desires. Theme text: do not let sin continue to rule as king in your mortal bodies so that you should obey their desires. Romans 6 verse 12. Focus: to help us to 1. Fight discouragement and 2. Avoid giving in to temptation. Question 1. What is true of all imperfect humans? Our Bible-based response, the International Standard Version renders 1 Corinthians 10 verse 13 as follows: no temptation has overtaken you that is unusual for human beings. As described in this passage, no temptation we face is unique or impossible to overcome. According to Philippians 4 verse 13, with Jehovah's strength and guidance, we can resist temptation and remain faithful to Him. Question 2. What kinds of temptations might some Christians and Bible students struggle with? See also pictures. Our Bible-based response, based on James 1 verse 14, each person is tested by their own desires, which can vary greatly. As described in Romans 7 verse 21, even faithful servants of Jehovah experience inner struggles, yet with divine help, we can continue striving to do what is right. Question 3. What effect can a persistent wrong desire have on an individual? Our Bible-based response, if we are dealing with a persistent wrong desire, we might feel powerless, as if we were unable to resist giving in to temptation. We might also feel hopeless, as if Jehovah would condemn us simply for having the wrong desire. Be assured that neither assumption is true. In fact, according to Proverbs 24 verse 10, if we give in to discouragement, our strength may falter during trials. As described in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, Jehovah's power can make us strong even when we feel weak, helping us overcome persistent wrong desires. How the wicked one wants us to feel. Questions 4. Part A. Why does Satan want us to feel powerless? Part B. Why are we not powerless in our fight against temptation? Our Bible-based response, as described in Matthew 6 verse 13, Jesus taught us to pray for deliverance from the wicked one because Satan wants us to believe we cannot resist. Based on Philippians 4 verse 13, however, we are empowered through Jehovah and can overcome any temptation with His help. To explain why, this article will address 2 questions. 1. Where do feelings of powerlessness and hopelessness come from? 2. How can we win the fight against wrong desires? Question 5. How do we know that Jehovah is confident that we can win the fight against wrong desires? Our Bible-based response, based on Revelation 7, verse 9 and Revelation 7, verses 13 through 14, Jehovah foretold that a great crowd would remain faithful through tribulation, proving His confidence in our ability to resist sin. As described in 1 Peter 5 verse 10, He will strengthen and firmly establish those who rely on Him. Questions 6 and 7. Why does Satan want us to feel hopeless in our fight against temptation? Our Bible-based response, according to 2 Peter 3 verse 9, Jehovah does not desire anyone to be destroyed but wants all to repent, showing He offers hope, not condemnation. As described in 1 Peter 5 verses 8 to 9, resisting Satan's lies helps us maintain our hope and stand firm in faith. How our sinful condition can make us feel. Question 8. Besides wrong acts, what does sin involve? Psalm 51 verse 5, see also expression explained. Our Bible-based response, as described in Psalm 51 verse 5, sin is an inherited condition that affects every human being from birth. Based on Job 14 verse 4, even though we were born imperfect, Jehovah's mercy allows us to draw close to Him despite our flaws. Expression explained. In the Bible, the word sin often refers to an act, such as stealing, adultery, or murder. Exodus 20 verses 13 to 15, 1 Corinthians 6 verse 18. In some scriptures, though, sin refers to a condition that we inherited at birth, even though we had not yet committed any act of sin. Questions 9 and 10. Part A. How did the condition of sin affect Adam and Eve? Part B. How does the condition of sin affect us? Our Bible-based response, according to Genesis 3 verse 10, sin caused Adam and Eve to feel guilt, fear, anxiety, insecurity, and shame, separating them from Jehovah. As described in Romans 5 verse 14, we too inherit sin's effects, but through Christ's ransom, we can gain forgiveness and maintain a clean conscience before God. Question 11. How should we react to feelings of powerlessness, and why? Romans 6 verse 12. Our Bible-based response, as described in Romans 6 verse 12, we must not let sin rule as king in our bodies, meaning we have the strength to resist its control. According to Galatians 5 verse 16, when we walk by Spirit, we can choose not to act on wrong desires, showing that we are never powerless when relying on Jehovah's help. Question 12. How should we react to feelings of hopelessness, and why? Our Bible-based response, as described in Psalm 103 verses 13 to 14, Jehovah understands our weaknesses and treats us with compassion, not condemnation. Based on 1 John 3 verses 19 to 20, He knows all things about us, including our efforts to do right, assuring us that we are never hopeless when we continue striving to please Him. Questions 13 and 14. Does simply having wrong desires mean that we have failed? Explain. Our Bible-based response, according to 1 Corinthians 6 verses 9 to 11, Jehovah distinguishes between practicing sin and resisting it. He forgives those who turn away from wrong acts and strive to remain clean. As described in Ephesians 2 verse 3, we may have inherited sinful desires, but through self-control and obedience, we can overcome them and remain acceptable to Jehovah. How to win? Question 15. If we are to win the fight against wrong desires, why do we need to be honest with ourselves? Our Bible-based response, as described in James 1 verse 22, being honest with ourselves prevents self-deception that can lead to sin. According to Galatians 6 verse 7, Jehovah cannot be mocked. Our choices have consequences, so acknowledging weaknesses helps us stay vigilant and faithful. Question 16. How can you strengthen your resolve to do what is right? Our Bible-based response, based on Proverbs 22 verse 3, anticipating temptation before it occurs helps us act wisely and avoid danger. As described in 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 4, maintaining self-control and holiness strengthens our determination to do what pleases Jehovah. Question 17. What can we learn from Joseph's example? Genesis 39 verses 7 to 9, see also pictures. Our Bible-based response, as described in Genesis 39 verses 7 to 9, Joseph immediately rejected temptation because he had already decided to stay loyal to Jehovah. According to Psalm 97 verse 10, hating what is bad and loving righteousness protects us from moral compromise. Keep testing. Question 18. How can you win the fight against wrong desires? 2 Corinthians 13 verse 5. Our Bible-based response, according to 2 Corinthians 13 verse 5, regularly examining our thoughts and actions helps us stay spiritually strong and self-aware. As described in Psalm 101 verse 3, avoiding anything that promotes sin fortifies our heart and keeps our conscience clean before Jehovah. Question 19. How can seemingly small unwise decisions make it more difficult for us to fight wrong desires? Our Bible-based response, as described in Jeremiah 17 verse 9, the heart can deceive us into thinking that small compromises are harmless, leading to greater sin. Based on Romans 13 verse 14, we must avoid planning ahead for the desires of the flesh, staying alert to protect our spiritual integrity. Question 20. What prospect do we have for the future, and what help do we have right now? Our Bible-based response, according to Revelation 21 verse 4, Jehovah promises a future free of sin, pain, and temptation, giving us hope. As described in Philippians 4 verse 13, with Jehovah's help, we have the strength to resist wrongdoing now and the assurance of everlasting life in His new world. By way of review, how would you answer? 1. What can help us fight feelings of powerlessness and hopelessness? Our Bible-based response, as described in Psalm 103 verses 13 to 14, remembering that Jehovah understands our limitations and weaknesses helps us fight feelings of discouragement. Based on Philippians 4 verse 13, knowing that Jehovah gives us the strength we need to endure assures us that we are never powerless or hopeless when we rely on Him. 2. How can we keep sin from ruling as king over us? Our Bible-based response, according to Romans 6 verse 12, we must not allow sin to dominate our actions, meaning we can choose not to act on wrong desires. As described in Galatians 5 verse 16, walking by Spirit empowers us to resist temptation and remain loyal to Jehovah's standards. 3. How can we keep testing ourselves? Our Bible-based response, based on 2 Corinthians 13 verse 5, we keep testing ourselves by regularly examining our conduct and adjusting it to align with Jehovah's principles. As described in Psalm 101 verse 3, we strengthen our heart by avoiding influences that could weaken our spiritual resolve, ensuring that we stay clean before Jehovah. Source: Daddy, Mommy, Doniani, and Kaledni.